Hello, hello, hello. How is everybody today?
Hey, welcome back.
To the show.
Yay!
Welcome to the show, all you cool cats and kittens.
So it is Monday, April 27th, because I think we all lose track of our days
Yes, you're so
and we
right.
don't know where we are. So I just figured I'd let everybody know that. If you've never met us before, we are Late Night Snacks, and my name is Lady Di. And with the beautiful bow on her head is Miss DeWanda.
Hi, everybody.
And on the other side, sandwiched in between the other beauty, is Miss Irish Melly. Melinda's with us today.
Hi,
And-
everybody.
And we do have Michael, who's having a bit of a technical issue, and he will pop in when he gets that fixed. So when he comes in, I will introduce you all to Magic Mike.
Well, he's here. Let's see if we can get him to.
Oh, let's see if it's working.
Hey,
We can hear.
Can you hear us?
can you hear us?
I can. For some reason, my computer defaulted to my cordless headphones that I haven't worn how long? They were on
That's
those
silly.
headphones.
Well, you
Okay,
got to
so
figure it out.
now that you're here, I just did all the introductions to the
Now it's your turn.
ladies.
Now it's your turn
My turn to do what? Say, I'm Mike.
to introduce
I'm here.
yourself. Say hi.
Hi.
And BRT is with us today in the comments.
Hey, B. How are you, sweetheart?
What's up?
Woohoo!
How is it in the weather-wise in the neck of your woods, babe?
Hot.
I know you guys are hot.
Fucking hot.
Yeah, but I'm sure BRT's hot too. Where
It was rainy and cold today, so for me.
It was like that for 2 months here, and then all of a sudden,
Yeah, it was, and I loved it. It was raining. It was cool.
I
It
did
was
too.
nice.
I was really
All
enjoying
right.
it.
So today we are starting season 3 of American Horror Story, which, if you don't know, is called Coven. So it is
Welcome to
our
our
first
coven.
Yes, exactly. It is the first introduction of the witches. Now, previous to this, although I have watched 1 and 2, I had never seen an episode of American Horror Story. I was watching another show on FX, and I saw the commercials for this, and I was like, "What's going on?" And I just saw witches marching with umbrellas, and I'm like, "What the heck is this?" And I'm a sucker for anything to do with witches. Probably because, and I just started watching Salem as well.
We lost
Uh-oh. Keep talking, Di. We got you.
The first episode, the first season looked not for me because it looked too scary. Because unlike the rest of my co-hosts here, I am not a horror movie person. I don't like to be scared. And the second one was an asylum with a nun, and I went to Catholic school for 13 years, so there was no way I was going to watch this. But I thought, you know what? Maybe I'm going to check this out. So I thought it would be nice maybe to have a perspective of someone who had never watched American Horror Story before in their life until they watched this season. So this episode is episode 1, entitled Bitchcraft. It is directed by Alfonso Gomez Rejon, and it was written by Brad and Ryan.
Because as we all know, this is Ryan's baby. The witches are Ryan's baby.
Yep.
He says that all the time.
But again, we don't know this, and I didn't have any knowledge of what Jessica and Lily had done previous to this, or Frances Conroy, or any of those people. This was my first introduction to every one of them.
Right.
So I turn on the television, and the first scene is Kathy Bates. Now, to this point, we have not seen Kathy Bates nor Angela Bassett. This is when they were.
Well, and not to mention, basically the first scene, I mean, I know there's a little bit before it, but basically the first scene is Kathy Bates rubbing blood across her face. And you're like, this is what I'm in for this season?
I know. Well, and I'm
Strap
like,
in.
do I want to watch? Do I want to
Strap in
watch
for the
this
ride,
show?
man. Right.
Do I want to watch this show? Now, the only thing that kept me watching, because the old me would have turned it off in like the first 5 minutes, said, fuck it, not for me, was because it was Kathy Bates. And she had on the period costume, and they were in New Orleans. And I'm a big Anne Rice fan, and Anne Rice writes about vampires, but she also has a trilogy about witches, and the witches are in New Orleans. And if
Oh, I
I had
didn't know
to,
that. I did not know that.
and it's crazy because the way the house looks, the Robichaud Academy from the front is almost exactly how she describes where the witches live in her books. It's called Lasher, The Witching Hour, and there's one.
The Miss Robichaud's Academy is a real place. So
Yeah,
was that around when she was writing her books, or
Yes,
did that
yes.
come after?
Anne Rice
Because
used to
that was
live,
probably, I would say that was
and
probably her
she's a big
inspiration.
New Orleans person. And she always, all of her books, she always visits certain places. And one of them happens, every book that you read with her, the character eventually ends up in San Francisco and New Orleans, because those are her two favorite places in the world. And she lives in San Francisco. Anyway, so I was kind of like, got that vibe. And this is what kept me watching. But then after the very beginning, when you see her torturing the slaves, I was just like, oh my God, I don't know if I can do this.
Yeah, it's a
I
lot.
just,
Right away
how can I?
in the
So,
first
and
2 minutes of the season, you're like, wait, what? This is what's happening?
I'm working 80 hours a week full time at this point. I'm watching this at probably 11 or 12 o'clock at night alone in my bedroom because I stay up later than my husband. And I'm just like, I'm appalled at what I'm seeing and I want to cry, which I guess is what he was going for.
yeah.
And I was just like, I don't know. And then it cuts from there. And then that's when I'm like, okay. And you go right into the first one was 18, let's see, 1890 something. And then they switch and go, you've already known that she's this disgusting woman, and I don't even want to talk to. I mean, she brutalizes her slaves. Her daughter sleeps with one of the slaves, and she decides to use his stomach to smear blood all over her face to get rid of the wrinkles because she's like this vain. She's like the most despicable, disgusting human being. Makes you kind of ashamed to be a white person.
It's
Well, let's talk
very
about her for a second because she's real. This is a real person. This is a true life
yes,
person.
yes.
Actually
And we
lived,
found out later.
But a lot of the blood thing was very who was that? Bathory. Elizabeth Bathory. She was the one who would kill virgins and keep their blood, and she used their blood because she said it made her feel youthful, it made her look youthful, and and that's also part of
and that's kind of a thing throughout history. Like they say Cleopatra used to use it. Like it's just kind of like everybody like in these.
Oh.
So this woman is Madame Dauphine LaLaurie. She was an aristocrat in New Orleans at the time. They were slave owners. Her House of Horrors is a real thing. They did, identify. I don't have facts in front of me. I don't want to misquote facts, but X many, number of deaths that occurred there on, on her behalf. So the historical, from what I understand, the historical accuracy of her and another character we'll talk about later is to the point up to the moment of their death.
Yes.
And then the show takes a different liberty with what they would do with their spirit, and we'll talk about that when it comes up. But I just want to point out that this is the first time that in American Horror Story, not the last, but the first time we're going to be using actual for real people versus fictional people to tell this fictional story.
Right, to tell the stories of the American Horror Story.
Yeah, he definitely uses. He finds characters that he embellishes on, or use them as a. But I mean, he could have read those Anne Rice books and said this woman would fit in, and then read about her. You don't really know how he came to it, but the sad part is this horrific individual existed, and the way she treated everybody. And that was
welcome. We're talking about Madame LaLaurie.
And that was in 1834.
And I had to think about the question that Debbie proposed to me during that one episode. was because as you guys know, if you're just joining our panel, knowing the history of our show, I have a real problem with fictionalizing, real people's life stories, especially in tragic situations. And Debbie asked how I felt about LaLaurie and Angela Bassett's character, who we'll talk about later. And the way I view this is the same way that I view the hotel characters, the real life characters that come in. I don't think Ryan and Brad rewrote their history. Their history was played out as it was played out in their real life, without any alterations, without any fan fictionalizing. They just took upon their death an additional history or additional what could have been of their spirit or whatever. So in that sense, in that small sense, I don't have as big a problem with. I still am saying, flatline, that he should not be using real characters to tell these stories, because it just sensationalizes people's deaths and horrific stuff.
Yeah, and that was a big part of the debate.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and it's still a debate even now.
Right. Yeah. Obviously, we're talking about it.
Yeah.
But
when we find out that happens later, I mean, she definitely. I like the way he turned it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then turned it back to where
you
can't change the,
if you're looking at her history,
and then turned it back to the scorpion and the frog, if you will.
He didn't change her history, but that's
can you highlight BRT's comment real quick? The one about Kathy?
And then a hat tip to Kathy for playing such. Yes, absolutely.
No, not that one. Yeah, the hat tip to Kathy.
Hat tip to Kathy for playing such a heinous character.
That's some hashtag lady balls. Yes.
To say the things that she says and use the words that she uses.
And to know that in real life, she's a complete opposite. She's nothing like that.
Well, also, in real life, that Kathy Bates is method as well.
Yeah,
so she's on that set daily as this woman.
Which when we get to it, which is part of what makes Roanoke so interesting for Kathy Bates.
Because she's
we'll get there eventually.
Stays in character the whole time.
Right. And then let's see. Debbie said Nick Cage actually bought LaLaurie's house.
He did?
Oh, wow.
And she said voodoo people here were upset about Papa Legba because they combined two entities instead of sticking to the lore/beliefs. Yeah. And I know a lot of people, not just in New Orleans, but obviously there was a big uproar there because it's a very New Orleans story. Right. And people are very proud of their stories, their heritage, their town. But yeah, that was also a big thing. That was also a big thing, was because they combined the two. It wasn't just straight Papa Legba lore.
Yeah.
I'm gonna turn my camera.
So then, so we've already established. And then we switched. Then it goes from 1834 to
2013.
And we see Zoe again. I didn't know she was in
Tyus Farmiga.
I didn't know that she was Violet. Nothing. I see her. She's with her boyfriend. They go upstairs. She's like consensual. And then he's like, I hate being somebody's first. And she's like, oh, come on already. Let's just do this. And so we
also see at this point, hold on. At this point, we also see Brian. We start seeing the pattern of American Horror Story. You wouldn't have seen it, but we start seeing the pattern of American Horror Story because we've got a present day and then a season in the past. And now we're back to present day.
Right. I wouldn't know that because I had never seen it before.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And just when I thought I was going to turn it off because it was getting way too much with even just the beginning of it, I'm just like, what the hell am I watching? This is definitely not my thing. And then it goes to Zoe and she's having sex for the first time
with her boyfriend.
Her boyfriend, he starts bleeding at the eyes.
From the eyes.
She starts screaming, and you see it coming out his ears, and basically he has an aneurysm. It's death by vagina.
Yeah.
Killer crotch.
She's really upset, and her mother comes to her and explains to her that she is a witch. She was hoping it would skip her generation as it did her mother, Nora.
Right. And Nora, we then get the backstory on the witches and what happened somewhat.
Exactly. And then she's like, we talked about this in like fifth grade, and maybe I should have paid attention, but I now got schooled in the fact that all the witch trials were not really the witches. The witches were much more cunning, and the real witches left when they started burning them, and they took off and went as far away as they could and ended up in New Orleans, which is where they learned to keep, and they've always kind of kept under the radar.
Yeah.
And the women that they burned were not the real witches at all. I'm sure they got maybe one or two, but because the burning of the witches definitely a theme in this as well. So then you see these two guys come in with their black suits on, and the albino guy with his glasses, and this amazing woman with this crazy ass red hair who just kind of waltzes in and says, "She's our girl now, darling," and stops in the middle of the hallway and looks at the curtains and says, "Oh my God, I die for tartan." Because there are these tartan drapes there, and you're like, it looks like somebody from New York who was an editor of a Vogue magazine, which is kind of what this story is based. And they take Zoe and they put her on a train and they send her to Miss Robichaux's finishing school. And they get to the gate, and and we don't know who this person is yet. We have not been introduced to her at all. It's just this woman with the crazy ass red hair who looks like she walked out of Vogue magazine.
Didn't she say her name when she was at Zoe's house, though?
No, she
No.
talked to Nora and she said, "Nora, she's our girl now. You don't have to worry about it."
So she already knew.
Well,
yeah, no, Nora knew, and she
Right.
called, and Myrtle was the one to come and take her. We find out later her name is that. But it's interesting because she presses the button, because I didn't remember her being in the first episode as much, but she just is in it for a very, very small thing. And as soon as she presses the button,
yeah.
Zoe looks up at the house, and then all of a sudden the rest of them are gone. The two guys that were with her.
Just vanished.
Oh no, I love how they just come in, they swoop, and they take her out, and then
like no questions asked, just like, you're coming with us.
Yep. Yes, Debbie. She is fabulous as fuck. That is the perfect word for this lovely woman. These drapes, I'm mad for tartan, which is so kind of.
we know Debbie. We know Debbie's a downright Frances fan to the end.
Yeah, me too.
Amen.
We all are, man.
She's always been. So she goes in and she walks in and she's in this big huge mansion and she's running around and she's trying to get someone to help her, and she sees everything scattering in like these black cloaks, and long story short, it's the three other girls who are living there fucking with her.
Right.
And they throw her up on a table, and one of them has a knife, and they said, "Die, witch." And then is it Nan who breaks it up?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah,
Or Cordelia.
Yeah.
So there's three girls, and they take off their masks, and one of them is Emma Roberts, aka Madison Montgomery, because she looks at her first and she says, "Are you?" Because she recognizes her because she's famous. She's like, "Yeah, I'm Madison Montgomery." And then Queenie, who is, I always forget how you say her last name. Gabrielle. I always think her last name. And Nan, who is Jamie Brewer. And they're initiating her, and
but basically Madison is the one that's messing with her.
Yeah, Madison's an actress. She's a famous movie star. And
the other two is going along.
She's maybe related to the Montgomerys of LA, the Montgomerys from Murder House. Maybe we never got confirmation of that, but who knows?
Nope.
Yes, we never got confirmation, but again, we don't know any of this, and I don't know anything about anybody else. So Cordelia comes down and introduces herself as Cordelia Fox, and she is the headmistress, and says back in the heyday when everything was going on, that there were over 60 girls, and now the numbers have dwindled because people who realized they carried the genes chose maybe not to reproduce, and they just don't have as many people as they used to. And they were going to teach Zoe how to control her gifts. And there's always a Madison with like, hey, you mean hide them.
And she talks
And
about
that's
it because of the persecution of witches that
Yeah.
it's a free society that these people were shunned and persecuted and killed, and it just wasn't it's almost a racism type thing. It wasn't popular to be a witch.
No.
so that's kind of where that little part leaves off, and I'm going to done it in order of um, the show. Then you see Jessica Lange.
Yes. Then we get Jessica
In
Lange.
the doctor's office. And the doctor is showing her, and you don't even know it's her yet because the camera comes in, shows her from behind. You don't see the front of her face.
No.
And there is a doctor who's talking to her about this new serum that they invented that basically stops aging. They had an older monkey in there wearing a diaper, kidney failure, and they're experimenting on this drug, which I was like, okay, I don't like this either. And they gave the monkey the medicine, and the next time you see him, she's running around, and then all of a sudden you hear Jessica's voice go, "I'll have what she's having." Just
Yeah.
in a totally different context. And she's said, "My husband's money." And this is where you find out how rich she really is. And I think the only place she even mentions being married before and how she got a lot of money, because we know she's really, really, really well off, paid for all this research. And I want you to give me this medicine now.
Even though it's not ready for human trial.
Said, oh, it'll be 2 years before the FDA gets everything. So she tells him, I want it, and if I don't get it, I'm pulling my funding. And then they get into it. Then she leaves, and she's like, I better get it soon. And then this scene, then it cuts to at night, and you start to hear the music, and you see her dressed in this like black kind of with all the shawls, like you would totally think a witch would be, and she's playing in the Gata de Vida, and she's dancing around.
Yeah.
No, it's all out there. She's putting it all out. She's just kind of going crazy and dancing and moving and just every way you think a witch would go.
Mm-hmm.
With a big long shawl, and all her clothes are like very flowy, and she's got random abandonment, and she's just dancing around. And the guy shows up, and she answers the door, and it's the doctor, and she said, I don't feel any different. What is going on?
You've been giving me this stuff for 5 days and nothing is happening.
And he's like, look, I could lose my job over this. And she's like, you will double the dose. And he looked at her and said, I will tender my resignation in the morning. To which she goes and starts to kiss him. And then you realize she's sucking the life out of him.
Yeah.
Like a succubus would do. And you kind of expected after she did it, because you see his face go from young to old, that then it would do something for her. And it does for a split second. And then it doesn't. And she gets pissed off.
Now, who else got poltergeist vibes from that? Because the guy, when she sucks the life out of him, basically when you see the makeup, it looks like one of those corpses that you see when you watch Poltergeist.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost identical. I'd noticed that. I'm like, that is a total Poltergeist move right there.
Well, yeah, this season has a kind of a, well, it has more of a kind of 90s feel to me.
Yeah.
The way it was.
But there's also a creature called a succubus in mythology, whatever, and it's a woman who sucks the life out of people to get renewed again.
Mm-hmm. Well, see, what's interesting about this too is we don't know why her desperation is so bad at this point. When we learn it, it's interesting to go back and watch this scene again, because it makes sense why she's so desperate.
And actually, right before he came to the door, she was watching television, and they showed this woman who was outside of Lafayette, who was being dragged through the grass and screaming, please don't, and they burned her.
Is anybody else getting audio from Diana issues?
Oh. Yeah, I am.
Yes, I'm sorry, what?
We're getting
your sound is cutting in and out.
Oh, is it better now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. get closer. So this is what prompts her to, as we find out, go to New Orleans because she saw Misty's picture as when she was getting burned alive, and she kind of could, well, not kind of, she knew she was a witch.
Yeah.
So after all this happens, okay, so her internet got cut. She's working on it. She goes to the academy where you see her walk up on Delia and freak her out, and then tell she's like, "Okay, mother," and so you know that Fiona is Cordelia's mother, and there's absolutely not even any love loss. She wants to give her a poultice that she's been working on that will make her feel better, and she's like, "If I drink that, I'm gonna die."
She ended up totally scaring the hell out of her by touching the back of her shoulder.
She snuck up on her and she dropped something, and then she starts berating her for not fulfilling. You are the only daughter of the Supreme, and you don't know what kind of magic is in you, and you're sitting here with your lotion, your potions, and you're mixing things and trying to, and she's belittling her, and she's treating her not so nice, where you see, okay, this woman, obviously, poor Cordelia, her mother is just a big wicked witch, literally. So
we basically get the story where Cordelia's like, when are you gonna die so I can get on with my life?
And she doesn't drink what she gave her, that she said, I'm working on a vitality potion. She takes it and she throws it away. And she's like, I wish you would have, because you would have dropped dead.
Well, no, she said she poured it in a plant, and there was a cat down there that was going to drink it. And basically she called Fiona a bitch, because she's like, it wouldn't have killed you, because it would have killed the cat, but it wouldn't have killed her. It would have just knocked her out for like a week. Would have put her in a coma for a week.
So we know that there's a mother and a daughter. We know that she is the Supreme. We know that she's there for a reason, and they don't quite know what it is yet, but we know it's because of what happened to Misty, and she wants to know what the hell's going on at the academy.
Yeah, that's what she came to. What
so,
are you doing to this?
Then they're all sitting eating, and Fiona kind of walks in with a cigarette and starts talking to them, and they're like, who the fuck are you? And then they're just kind of like bitching and moaning. Zoe's sitting there quiet. Madison is arguing with Queenie, and this is where you find out what their powers are.
Well, this is so interesting too. This shows you also that Fiona hasn't been there this whole time that these students have been there. It's because none of them know who she is.
Has no idea.
Right. And so you see that Zoe doesn't know what her power is, and Madison, what did she do?
All Madison is doing is basically berating.
She's just berating him, and Queenie takes something and like sticks it in her, and she's like, I'm a human voodoo doll, nothing's going to happen to me, and she puts a knife up to her throat. So we know, and we'll find out more about her power. And Nan is obviously clairvoyant, because Nan starts telling them everything that happened to Zoe, and this is actually going backwards. But when they introduce them, they all have their powers. Zoe doesn't know what hers is. Nan is obviously clairvoyant, and Jessica Lange walks in and says to them, Fiona says, get dressed, we're going on a field trip. And
she's like, that doesn't happen until after they go to the frat party.
Yeah,
they have to go to the frat party first.
No? Oh, that was the day after? I thought that was the day before. Okay, never mind. So
the scene, and then there was the frat party, and then
because I was following Fiona's timeline and not there. Yeah. So let's just leave Fiona where she is at her apartment.
Yeah. So basically, I hate to cut you off. Sorry, Di.
No, that's okay.
Basically, we end up after the dinner scene because Madison is basically berating Spalding during the whole thing, basically calling him Jeeves and all that stuff.
Did you say who Spalding is? Spalding's the house dude.
Yeah, he basically takes care of all the witches in the house. He's like the
She's head
butler.
of house, yeah.
Well,
So
that's why she's calling him
Major
Jeeves.
domo.
that's why she's calling him Jeeves. And
But
then
she's
they
being
ask,
a little bitch, and she's talking
I
down
know.
to
She's a
him.
bitch.
And, automatically we're like, we just don't like this girl. She's
Mm-hmm.
mean and cruel and a little rich bitch
Yeah.
from Hollywood.
Needy and selfish.
She basically asked Zoe, so, why are you here? And and then Nan basically interrupts and says, because of her boyfriend, because she's clairvoyant. So she actually read her mind. She knows exactly what happened. And then they said, well, did you kill him? And she said, no, it was an accident. And then she counters back asking Madison, well, then why are you here? And she's just like, well, mine is court appointed and
Had an intervention.
part of an intervention. And basically she tells the story about when she was on stage and she got in a fight with the director because she wouldn't hit her mark. And
it wasn't even a fight.
It wasn't even a fight. She just like dropped a light on his head because she wouldn't hit.
She just
the
didn't
mark.
like it.
She
She's
didn't
just
like
a
it.
little spoiled brat. How dare you tell me to actually walk to where the light is?
Yeah, and then Queenie's just like, all he said was hit your mark. And all
Isn't
this
that what
other
you paid
stuff.
for? Yeah.
And
she gives her a look like, well, I didn't like it.
And they start bickering back and forth, and then Queenie starts to stab herself with a fork because she's a human voodoo doll causing all this damage to Madison. And Nan breaks it up and makes Queenie go for a walk. So that's how that breaks that up. And that's the end of that scene. And then all of a sudden Madison gets a tweet on her phone and says, well, with considering everybody here, I guess that you're my new best friend. We're going to a party. I just got the tweet. And then she asks Zoe, it's like, do you own any clothes that don't come from the Gap? I love that line. And then
she said no.
And then she said no, and basically she's like, well, you can wear something of mine. Then they go to the frat party, and that's where we meet
Evan.
Before we see them, then it cuts to the bus.
Yeah.
Where they're talking about that they're on probation and I'm gonna drink less so that you guys can drink more.
Mm-hmm.
And and here's the rules: no vomiting, no puking in anywhere around anybody, no exposure, no pissing on people. Like, you find out their standards are very low to begin with, if those are the only rules that they have. And if they're on some kind of a team list and they fuck up one more time, they're going to be kicked out of school. And they go to the frat party, and then Madison walks in with Zoe. And of course, when she walks in, everyone looks at her because she's famous and they all know who she is. And the guys that were on the bus we find out his name is Kyle, start figuring out a way to get with her. And they're like, dude, there's no way, she's not in your league. And she gets carted away by a girl to get her drink, and she gets separated from Zoe.
And then we have this scene where Zoe and Kyle are flirting back and forth between I think it was an ice sculpture. Yeah.
Yeah, I love how she looks up and she sees this ice, and they lock eyes, and it's pretty much like love at first sight for Zoe.
Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
It's like they lock eyes and they see each other and they start to talk, and she's just like standing there.
She doesn't want to talk about herself.
She's like gawking at him almost, like with her mouth open, like, oh, I love you, I think.
No, I think he was worse than she was. He was worse than she was, actually, when it came to
yeah, they were both
she was very kind of standoffish, and he wanted to know more. And she's basically, I don't want to talk anymore about myself. And he was just like, I don't understand how someone as hot as you doesn't want to talk about herself and so on and so forth. What's wrong with you and stuff like that. Then he realizes, oh, you must have a boyfriend. And she says, no.
And then he peeks through he's so cute.
So then
he puts his little hand in front of his face and he peeks through his eye and he's like, so you have to have a boyfriend. You just walked in here with a movie star and you're so pretty. So you get the idea that these two, even after spending 15 minutes together, are totally infatuated with each other.
And this was weird for me because this is where the first part of this season kind of goes a little south, and you got with disbelief. Didn't she just kill her boyfriend? Is that how many days has passed? I mean, literally just killed.
We don't know because they didn't say.
They didn't say what time, but the thing is that she doesn't she's okay. So, and she's probably 16. She's 16. She's been with one guy. She's alone. There's a cute boy talking to her at a party where she never thought she'd get. Girls do that.
I just think it would be the exact opposite.
She did say, I like you, Kyle, but it's not going to work out.
It's not going to work out.
Yeah.
She did say that. After all, it felt like they were supposed to be together forever. And she's like, nope, this isn't going to work. And then that's when she turns around and she tries to find Madison. And you guys want to, this is another part that was very, actually, I think I may have fast forwarded through this scene because I knew what was going to happen. I knew what was happening. It was very hard to watch.
Which scene is it?
The rape.
Madison gets roofie.
Oh, yes. Okay. So, yeah, we break off and find Madison. And, of course, Madison is being obnoxiously Madison at this point because there are guys that are following her upstairs. And she basically has this conversation with this guy. And she says, how would you like to be my slave? And he goes, well, what do I get for my trouble? And she says, well, don't you understand? Slaves get nothing. So why don't you go get me a drink? Little do we realize he's got like roofies or something. So they he goes to get her a drink, but he basically doses it, and it's the date rape drug, basically.
Yeah, they take her upstairs and they gang rape her. And they're kind of almost finishing when Kyle walks in because he's looking for her. He went upstairs to find her. Zoe's still downstairs. And then he gets them and says, you guys were already in trouble. And he's like, it's your turn. He's like, no. And he tries to, looks like he's torn between, he wants to get Madison up out of the bed, but he wants to get them the fuck out. So he gets them the fuck out. Zoe walks in, sees what happened to Madison, freaks out, tries to and asks her what happened. She confirms what happened, and then she went out after the bus, running down the street. I mean, she was really upset. She's like, they're not going to get away with this. She runs down the street, and then all of a sudden, in the front of her, the bus fucking flips. Now, she left Madison on the bed because Madison wasn't.
Madison got up. She was standing behind her. She didn't see her.
She turns around and she's like standing behind her. Madison is lighting a cigarette saying, let's go home. Because Madison flipped the fucking bus.
Madison flipped the bus. You actually see her doing it.
And if you're watching the show at this point, I personally am going, you better flip that bus.
Yeah.
Flip that motherfucking bus. I was just like, I was like elated. I know I shouldn't have been.
Amazing the way that Madison is able to regain control of her own character, her own self. And she's like, you know what? This horrible thing just happened. I'm back in the driver's seat. I'm
going to go kill these motherfuckers.
Yeah. And this is, after this scene, this is when we have the breakfast scene with all the girls. And this is when Fiona walks in. And, everybody's like.
And the news is playing when they're sitting there eating breakfast. So then they go home. She takes her home. And they don't know what's happened. And they're watching the news and they're talking about a tragedy that a bus flipped over. There was 9 people on board. 2 of them survived.
7 of them died. 2 of them are in critical condition in the hospital. And Madison walks in and turns it off. And Nan's like, I was watching that. And he's like, why? It's old news.
And then that's when Fiona comes up to talk to them and they don't know who she is.
Yeah,
and she looked at Madison and
Madison's like, "Who the hell are you?" And she's like, she said something, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but and she
Nan
called
says,
Fiona like a bitch or something, and Fiona like flipped her across the room, which that was like a beautiful move. Just like, you know.
yeah, Debbie's like, the rape scene is still unwatchable because it's so real. It is. It's really, really real.
It is. You
But
have to,
then when she flips the bus, it was like, holy shit. Like, you know, something out of a Charles Bronson movie the other way around, you know, like, um, so she looks at them and she doesn't say who she is, and Nan doesn't say it until they're walking down the street. She
yeah.
looks at them and says, "Oh, get dressed." And Queenie's wearing this like funky, weird kind of shirt, and she's like, "Wear something black."
Something black.
Boy,
So
they
then,
put on some heavy,
huh?
they put on some heavy black too. So,
Oh, I know, and they're like in New Orleans, and they're wearing like long sleeves and stuff like that. I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
So that then it cuts to where you see them all walking down the street, and this is what I saw in all the previews that made me turn into the beginning, where they're walking with their parasols, umbrellas, all black, dressed in black, walking through this amazing street in New Orleans.
Yeah.
And as they're walking down the street, Jessica is explaining to them a little bit of their witch history that in the 1970s. Okay. Oh, great. I'm going to have to bop off.
Okay.
I'm so sorry. Someone just came.
Got it.
You guys finish, and I will see you.
Yep, we got it. Anyway, this is where we get some backstory on the witches in the olden days, and that there was they had a separate coven, and they're walking down the street in New Orleans, and she's telling her this story, and basically Nan is the one who basically says, well, they asked her what's a supreme, and Nan said she is the supreme, and then basically she got the Jessica gave her the ultimate compliment, saying that one is the smartest one of all of you, which I thought was like totally beautiful of her to say. And they end up walking. They're walking across the street, and they end up in front of Madame LaLaurie's house. And at this point, I believe we're in present day right now.
Yes.
Which would be 2013. And they end up walking into the house because Nan is they're walking further away, and Nan is starting to hear something because she's just standing there looking out, and you don't really know. It's like, okay, what is she listening to? So obviously she's hearing something. She ends up going into the house because we have the rest of them walking in after her, and she comes in the middle of a tour that they're having in the house. And
like a civilian historical tour.
Yeah, Jessica ends up enchanting the lady because the lady's like, you can't join the tour without buying a ticket. And then she's like,
Jedi mind trick.
Yeah, she does the Jedi mind trick on her. Basically, no, you're going to give us the tour for free. And so they go walking around, and this is where we find out that Nicolas Cage was a former owner of the house, because they actually say it during the tour. And then they go up, and you get to see the attic where Madame LaLaurie kept all of her slaves for torture purposes.
Yep.
No flash photography, please. And all the girls are walking, and you see Fiona. She's looking out the window, and Nan is across the courtyard, just sitting there. And the next thing you know, you see Fiona. She's walking towards her. And she asks her, what do you hear? And she says, the lady of the house.
Yeah.
And all you see is the cobblestones, and everybody's looking down. And then Fiona goes back to, they all go back to Miss Robichaux's. And of course, Cordelia's pissed at this point because she's like, I'm in charge of those girls. What if something happened? And then we find out that Zoe didn't come back yet, and she ends up going to the hospital where the frat guys are there, and she's secretly hoping that Kyle is still alive, because obviously he didn't do anything, and all she knew is that 2 of them were still alive, and she was just hoping that he was one of them. And then she goes into the room only to find out that the main rapist was still alive.
Yep.
And that totally pisses her off, and she's like, it should have been you, asshole.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see her, she walks toward the door, and they do a panning of her where you see the face. She closes the door, and then she's talking and saying, my mother was right. There's no safe place for me because of who I am. I'm never actually going to find real love, so I might as well put this curse to good use. Mm-hmm. So she basically gets on top of him and starts having sex with him, and he ends up having an aneurysm through the eyes, which is really gross. Major blood. Basically kills him, and then she walks out. And the next scene after that, we have Zoe. They end up doing a funeral, kind of like a funeral thing for the rest of the frat boys, and mm-hmm. she's talking about that they're putting out flowers and everything else, and so she feels really bad because she was hoping it was, that Kyle was going to be alive, and then she ends up going back to. That's the last time we see Zoe in the episode, is during all of this. And then we go back to Miss Robichaud, and mm-hmm. Jessica is having all of her luggage taken upstairs and all that stuff. And Cordelia is like, where are you going? And all of a sudden she's like, well, that's my taxi. Here's the money. Make sure you tip them. And then Cordelia's like, well, where are you going? And she said, out. Don't wait up. And she's like, I'm half of mine to enchant the locks while you're gone. And she's walking out the house, and the last thing she says is, don't make me drop a house on you. Yeah. And it's just like so beautiful. And
it's also we're seeing a parent-child dynamic kind of switch here. It's like
really bad.
Sorry. They're doing some work outside, and they messed up something with the cable, or they shut off the cable or something. They told us, they're like, well, we'll get it on as soon as possible. It'll be a few minutes. I'm like, whatever.
No biggie.
So we're seeing a parent-child dynamic change.
Where are we at? What did I miss?
Fiona's kind of the child in this situation.
Yeah.
Cordelia's kind of schooling her and parenting her.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to hear.
We're actually almost done because of the fact that.
Okay, well then, since I just got here, can we time out real quick? Because I know I already missed it. Our pop for the episode.
Oh, there she is.
She's not in this episode.
Yes, she is. She's in the introduction.
She's in the episode.
That's when we learn about resurgence and everything. It's when Cordelia's telling the girls about the poor girl in, the poor Cajun girl. And then, so since we have that Misty Day, then we have our mini Misty Day, which I'll show you.
Better.
I'll show you this one later when we get to that scene.
Right.
But I have others too, so we'll get to
I know. But so now that Cordelia has left, or not Cordelia, but Fiona has left the house, and Cordelia is basically, I have every right to enchant the locks, and basically Cordelia's like, don't make me drop a house on you, which I love that line.
Love that line. Oh my God, that's like an iconic witch line right there is what that is, it's the throwback to the Wizard of Oz and everything. I loved that. I thought that was cute.
All she's doing is basically she's going out, and then all of a sudden it
is Michael frozen?
Huh?
No.
Oh,
yeah,
no, still.
No, I was.
I thought you were frozen. You just weren't moving.
I was frozen for a second.
Oh, okay.
So then it's dark, and we see that she had a couple of guys actually dig up the box.
Oh shoot! I see we have more guests. Let me say hi.
Okay.
Yes, hello.
We have Chase. Hi,
Hello,
Chase.
Chase.
Hello.
Thank you for coming.
Coming.
Oh, Buffy's here. Hey,
And
girl.
Buffy's
Hey,
here.
girl.
Hello, girl.
Hey. I'm gonna tell her, hey, girl. Hey.
Sorry, guys, I got a little distracted trying to keep us on track
Oh,
here.
you didn't know they were here?
Yeah, I was like in the
Oh,
zone.
so let's see what they're talking about then. Let's see what they're
Yeah,
talking
my comments don't work all the time. I'm not getting them this episode.
Chase said hi, and Buffy said
Right.
this is one of her favorite seasons. Yes,
Yeah,
I feel you. It's up there. Don't ask Michael though.
Michael has a different feeling.
And then it's just hi. Oh, and B said welcome back.
Hi.
Thanks,
Welcome
B.
back.
Thanks, B. Hey, Devs. Thank you.
Okay. So basically, she has them dig up the box, and then she enchants them and says, I would say thank you and everything, but you're not going to remember any of this, because she enchanted them and they walk away.
Yeah.
And then she proceeds to get the channel locks to cut the chains off, and the box just literally falls apart because it's been down there for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And then we see
rotten decay.
no, it literally falls apart.
LaLaurie, back from the dead.
And then we see Kathy Bates laying there, and she's still in her original dress from when she was when she drank the supposed love potion, and she's gagged and everything, and Fiona cuts the chains and stuff off of her, and then she sits up, and once she's standing up, she basically says, "Come on, Mary Todd Lincoln, let me buy you a drink."
This dynamic is so good for so long.
I know, it's just beautiful. And then they start walking away, and that's the end of the episode.
That's the end. That's the end.
What? Yeah, everything. What just happened?
Because I can honestly, in my opinion, Fiona and Myrtle have some of the best lines.
Well, Kathy Bates.
This entire season.
Nice.
I know.
Oh, that's right. Because Fiona, I totally forgot because I wasn't here. This is the scene where Fiona takes the girls into town, right?
Yeah. We talked about
that. Okay. That, and I missed that. So hold on one second. Go ahead, keep talking.
So yeah, that's the end of the episode. And yes, there's a lot of really good lines in this episode. I have to make a huge list now because there's so.
We're gonna do a line of the day. We have to do a quote of the day for this season because there's too many of them. We have too many good characters.
Every day.
Quoting a day. I think that one is the quote of the day. The Mary Todd Lincoln, but.
And I was gonna do this for Di, but I see she's gone, so that's all right. I'll talk to her later. But we have Ms. Fiona Goode, and this is when she has her glasses and her umbrella when she walks the girls through town.
I
thought you took them out.
I'm actually looking at that on the
I have another variant. I have another version of this that I don't think I've opened yet, or I might have. But I know it's a blood variant where she's got blood spatter on her face. So I have that one too.
Yeah.
So Fiona and Misty will be our pops for this episode. Misty's going to be a pop for every episode. So you guys just get Misty plus someone.
There you go.
Oh, well, you know what? Because I didn't get to talk when we introduced Misty. Misty, and I know we have some people. So let everyone know here.
Lily Ray,
anyone who doesn't know, Melinda is the biggest Lily Ray fan on the planet, and Misty Day is my favorite AHS character of all time, just because it's somebody I feel I personally relate with a lot of things, similar kind of personalities, attitudes about life and things. So yes, I am the hugest. I'm actually wearing my crocheted shawl for this because she wore hers in this episode when she did the resurgence on the bird, and then they burned her alive, but I missed all that. But anyway, so yeah, and I just think Lily Rabe is an amazing actress, period.
Amazing.
Even her
Amazing.
work outside of AHS, if you've ever seen it, she has an amazing range. She really is an amazing actress. And then in real life, she's an amazing person, and she's an amazing humanitarian.
You know where her talent really, really shines? I mean, really shows the pinnacle of what Lily Rabe can do is Roanoke. For her to be able to play that character that she plays in Roanoke, in the midst of everything else that's going on, she's amazing. Absolutely amazing. And it's such a simple
As far as I'm
character.
concerned, that woman can do no wrong. It's just like, oh.
Yeah, exactly. Until it happens, you know, it won't. And it probably never will.
Even in 1984, just the fact that she came in for the short amount of time, it was just like, oh my God, the veteran is here. Oh,
yeah.
You know?
Oh, and I know I've said it. I've said it before, and I know you guys know because you guys are like family.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I'm such a big Lily Rabe fan. I honorably named my newest daughter, my 4-month-old, after Lily Rabe. The name's a little different, but they're both Lilies. So.
Lily. Yes. Yay.
She's amazing.
But there we go, guys. That is our episode for today.
Let's look at the comments real quick. Let's see what Debbie said. Debbie said, "Oh, bitch, I have the blood spattered version of that Fiona. I bet you do."
I wouldn't be surprised.
Fiona, be good, BRT said. Let's see. Oh, Buffy said, "Hey, girl. Hey, woohoo. I'm telling you." And Debbie said, "Hey, everybody."
Okay, here's my challenge to everybody. By the time we get done to the end, I want to know why everybody's feeling that this is such a huge fan favorite season. What is it? What grabbed you? That's what I want to know.
All right, but we have to the end of the season to give you that answer.
Yes, till the end of the season. You have to give Michael a solid, good reason why this is allowed to be a fan favorite.
Are you just on the bandwagon, or do you really have a reason? Because I think there's a lot of bandwagoning going on with this season.
Well, I'm not going to answer that.
It is season.
Let's see. Buddy, I can't talk. Sorry, you guys, my mouth is dry. Buffy said, could you guys please wish Izzy a happy 15th birthday? It's Izzy's 15th birthday.
Happy
birthday, Izzy.
Happy birthday.
15 is a good year, but it kind of sucks. You get to be older than 14, so you're not a kid anymore.
Yeah.
But you're not 16, so you can't necessarily drive on your own yet.
Yeah.
They got all the big 16-year-old
15's a good age. 15's a good age. I liked 15. I did. I liked 15.
I didn't.
15 was good. I like my teen years. It's good. It's a lot of fun. I had a great high school.
I didn't. But yes, happy birthday, Izzy.
Happy birthday. Should we sing?
No, we can't sing it. It's copyright.
Yeah.
No, it's not. Not anymore. It's past the 100-year mark. Happy birthday is officially allowed as of a couple of years ago.
Is it?
Is it?
Yeah. Yep. Because a copyright can only be held for like 100 years or something like that.
I haven't heard it on TV yet, though.
Well, I'm just going to do it. Happy birthday to you. See, we'll change it up. Happy birthday
to you.
To you. Happy birthday, dear Izzy. Happy birthday
to you.
To you.
And anymore.
You want to say happy birthday to Izzy real quick?
Happy birthday.
Wait, you got to let him see you. You got to see him right there. No.
Hi,
Kai.
Happy birthday, Izzy.
There we go.
Thank you.
Celebrate. Celebrate. Oh, that one we can't do. Come on.
All right.
I'll just skip every other couple words and we're fine. Just sing it in your head.
The trick is to not sing it as it's written, to basically make it up on your own. That's how to do it.
Right. All you have to do is tweak a little bit.
Just make up the lyric.
Okay.
That's our show, everybody. Thanks. Oh, did we do wand?
Oh, no, we didn't.
Are we doing wand?
I was going to do a whole different series for Coven.
Yeah, you better have a good set of wands for Coven.
You know, I thought I did, but...
I thought I did. Oh, your wands are good.
Not like hooked. Man, I thought I had a whiteboard. Anyway, no. I don't like this glare. So, in honor of Coven of the witches, this is Professor McGonagall's one.
Oh, yay! I was gonna say that one looked familiar. That's why. Okay.
I love her so much. She's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
She's like the matriarch of
She
magic.
is the matriarch.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I love her so much.
She has a little crystal on the end.
Aww.
I like it. That's really pretty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. Well, it's so
sophisticated.
heavy. It's so hard because it's
It
so heavy.
seems sophisticated. It seems old but sophisticated,
Yeah,
just like her.
And very heavy.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And now before I forget, we do have our links are listed down below, and we have created a group to go along with our channel now, which is also listed in the group. It's listed down below. It's called Late Night Chaos. Any of you who have not joined, please feel free to do so.
Do so, please, because soon we will be doing our drum roll.
Yeah, we will. We're getting ready to do the nominations and awards for Asylum.
For American Horror Story Asylum season 2.
And then also, as the channel grows, we're eventually going to be doing viewer giveaways. Where parts of all of our personalities are going to give away wands and Legos and makeup and all the things that we feature on the channel. We're going to be giving that stuff away. We want to make sure it's fair, though, that we get,
Yes. So obviously, feel free to share our channel with everyone. Make sure you subscribe and
hit that notification bell so you always know when we upload and when we go live.
If you want us to tackle something during our discussions of each show, bring it up. We're here about the discussion, not about a format.
Nope.
Oh, and it doesn't have to be AHS related, but we do all AHS here. But it doesn't have to be. If there's something else you want to talk about, let us know. Give us a shout out. Tell us what you guys are thinking about.
To our viewers and the admins, the admin team, I just want to publicly thank everybody for their love.
Yes, very much so. Thank you to all moderators and admins. Hey, I'm a moderator.
Yeah.
Well, that's because I didn't want to be an admin because you guys deal with too much crap and I didn't want to do it.
In case you guys didn't know, Michael and I are both admins, so obviously we deal with a lot of crap on a regular basis. But
technically, I'm an admin. Duh.
I know you are.
Duh.
You are.
We didn't say what channel or what thing.
Say what channel. Technically, all of us
are. I'm the admin of a lot of stuff, actually.
I know.
That's part of why I didn't want to do it for the freaks, because I'm like, I got too much.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Yeah.
Be tough sometimes.
Anyway,
all right, guys. Yes. Join, share, like, subscribe, comment, and we will be back with you guys next time.
Do that. Thumbs up.
We'll be back tomorrow. Everybody have a great rest of your day. And
we're out. We're out.